And this information let them be aware of the situation. For example, if the teacher said, okay, so the cut score is gonna be, I don't know, 13.5, because yeah, because as an example, I would say that because in our case is the same. We know we have to pass the level with 13.5,
With
so
13.5 or 14.
that's our cut score. The next one, it says progress and not progress, pass and not pass, certify and not certify, for assessments that will be used to classify students into groups. So we, if some students, some of some of our students pass and others don't pass the level, so we could classify, and then we could perceive the situation why they didn't pass the level, and then we could create as a plan B. So the idea is we can help these students to to reach to the level that we expect from them to get. And the last one says, carefully set the good scores for classifying test takers. So these are characteristics for teachers. Inform all stakeholders about the cut scores and how these were set, and make sure that the same cut score are used for classifying all the test takers. So it is important to establish the same condition for every student, because the idea is to be neutral. We cannot have a favorite student for any reason, because we must be um, honest in our decisions and how we assess our students. Otherwise, we are making a mistake, because we couldn't have a favorite student. I don't know, because she's a girl, or it's not because she's pretty or not, or something like that. Mhm.
Of course.
So that's it, Prof. Here we have our references,
Okay,
and
thank you.
that's our presentation.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Santiago and group 2, no?
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Great. You have covered all aspects of the decisions, no, intended decisions. Great. And so group 3, please, can you tell us the topic and your names?
Yes, Prof. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good
We,
afternoon.
as group number 3, we will present you a brief summary of chapter number 6, which deals with, next slide, please, with interpretations about what and how should we assess in a classroom. So first of all, what we have this question: what to assess in class? Well, to answer this question, we need to identify the information of the student language ability, which is concerned with how proficient our students are regarding to their communicational skills. So we should be more specific in what we are assessing. For example, if we want to assess how to write an essay, for example, we have the introductory paragraph, the body paragraph or paragraphs, and the conclusion paragraph. We need to be more specific when we are assessing. For example, we want to be focusing on how the student is using transitions. Instead of we should focus on if they are following the structure of an essay in this case. Then to do with what to do with this information? In this part, we should consider that every decision we make in class need to be measurable and evaluated. In that sense, teachers need to be need to identify the weak point of the students' skills.
Ah,
There is
por favor, apaguen el micrófono, chicos. Se escucha.
Es donde el profe mismo.
Sorry.
Yeah.
okay. Thank you. In that sense, we as a teacher need to identify the weak points of the students' skills in order to establish an improvement or improvements. Finally, how we should assess. In this part, we need to consider that some tasks are more useful than others. And therefore, we need to make use of the information we have gotten about the students' skills in order to prepare tasks that work on their weak points, especially, but keeping them challenging enough. Next slide, please. Okay, then again, when it comes to assess those abilities, we need to ask us two questions. What should I assess? It is important to consider the information regarding the language ability of our students. We gather in order to provide meaningful feedback. We have better consider the relevance of the test we have made. How should I assess? We need to ensure that the assessed content is going to be useful for the student in a real context. We do this by establishing target language use domains, which includes the language used in classroom, university, or the workplace. In that sense, providing realistic input to the students. So in this case, language use activities should be as close as possible to those that the students will need to do in real life. For example, if going back to the example, I consider that it is important to write a paragraph, for example, for if somebody wants to take an international exam or examination, or I don't know, if someone is going to study, I don't know, science, for example, the students must know how to write up an essay.
Exactly, an academic paper
Yeah.
or something. Mhm.
And finally, we need to consider the impact of the personal attributes of the students, because each student knows English in a specific degree. There may be assessed tasks that may work better for a part of the class, but not for the rest. So we have to take into consideration aspects like their age, their economical status, and stuff like that.
Things like that. Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, now, so what do we need to assess?
Hugo, no?
Intended,
Hugo Peñafiel.
yeah, Hugo Peñafiel, yes.
Yes.
Okay, so now, first of all, what is an intended interpretation? Well, as the book says, an intended interpretation is referred to the understanding about our students' language ability, which we want to arrive at on the basis of their assessment record. This is an important aspect because if we don't keep up a record of our students' grades, we won't be aware of their strengths and weaknesses. Mm-hmm. These strengths and weaknesses translate into the student's language ability or how proficient they are using the language. Then again, what is use this knowledge to propose tasks and activities. So it works like a cycle. We start with our class, we assess the class performance, and then we decide, okay, this student is not doing well on the speaking. And then I will prepare a specific task in order to help them improve that. And then I start the process again. Okay, now I got this improvement, but this other student got bad grades on another skill, you know. So this leads us to the other aspect, identifying the interpretations we need for making decisions, relevance and sufficiency. Now, once we have gathered this information, we need to make sure that our corrective actions possess these qualities. First, the relevance. It means that our decision will have a meaningful impact on the specific skills of our students. After all, the best tasks are activities that pushes our students to develop their abilities. Additionally, by keeping up this kind of task, it will help us to decide more easily who will pass the level, who will not. Then, the second, sufficiency refers to the amount of information or grades we have gathered from our alums in terms of efficacy. If we as teachers want to make a meaningful corrective action, it is worth considering how many grades our students got and what they reflect, what the grades reflect about our students' performance. Therefore, we want that information to decide what to correct in a single class and what changes to do in the long term or the next year. So Great. So here we have this task, how meaningful they are, how practical they are in the micro level and the macro level. Understanding micro level as the class, the single class of the day. Okay, I got this information about my students, therefore I will do this action. And sufficiency, and in the long term, we will say, okay, this year my students got good grades in speaking and writing, but they did not so well in listening. Therefore, next year I will create more activities to correct this.
Great.
Yeah, okay. Now, we have three basic elements here. How to identify these elements of the source ability? Well, first, we need to provide a definition of the ability to be assessed. It means that we need to identify, okay, which specific ability or skill needs to be improved in our students. Then we need to pay attention to the content of the language course itself. We want to make our classes meaningful and our task effective. Therefore, we need to use the syllabus as an ally and not as a strict guideline. We need to make use of the elements we have in order to correct to strengthen our students' abilities. And finally, we need to define the ability through the content of the course. We need to make sure that our tasks and the content of the syllabus follows a flow with the skills our students possess. Therefore, we make a symbiosis that will ensure that our students will make the most of the class.
Great.
Okay, my name is Carolina Macas, and I'm going
Carolina.
to talk about content of a language course. Content consists of all of the topics, themes, vocabulary aspects that will be covered during a level of a language course in order to develop all the communicative skills. As we know, listening, reading, writing, and or speaking. The content of a course could be specified in many different ways, such as a list of learning objectives, a course outline, a syllabus, a content of a lesson plan, textbooks, a content of teaching and learning tasks and activities. It's important to take into account that the more specific we can be in relating individual assessment tasks to particular parts of the course content, the more likely it will be that stakeholders will be able to understand our definitions of the ability
Of course.
to assess. The next one, please. The areas of a language ability needed in contexts outside the language course. It's important as teachers to know that the students could learn the language because they will apply it in many different contexts outside the class. For example, for future courses in the schools, when they want to read a paragraph in the class biology, for example, and also for the workplace or for future academic purposes. For example, when a student go to university, we use the language ability in order to write an appropriate and correct essay. And also in other situations, the language class may be aimed at preparing students for a professional career, for example, for medicine. In this case, the content of the language course may focus on language for a specific purpose instructions, so that the content of the language classroom can be used as a basis for developing classroom-based assessment. Yes, the next one, please. And meaningfulness is defined as the degree to which the intended interpretation provides stakeholders with information about the ability to be assessed and expresses this information in terms that they can understand. To assure the meaningfulness of our interpretations as teachers, we need to define the areas of the language ability that we want to assess and describe the source of our ability using terms that not only are easy to understand for the test developer and taker, but also for the stakeholders, for example, for parents.
Okay. Well.
Hello.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Well. Good evening, professor, classmates. I'm Jorge Catota, and I'm going to talk about generalizability of interpretations. Okay, so we have that generalizability is the degree to which the assessment-based interpretations apply or extend to our students on target language use domains. And so, to help assure this generalizability of interpretations, we need to do some following steps, like identifying and describe the target language use domains of our students. We also need to identify and describe the target language use task that our students need to perform. And also we need to select target language use tasks that we can use as a basis for creating assessment tasks. So next, please. We have identifying the target language uses domains and tasks. So we have two ways to identify this domain and tasks. The first one is inside the language class. And inside the language class, we're going to prioritize the generalized language class. We also need to present the students a variety of learning tasks. For example, I don't know, readings, writings, filling the gaps, and some other activities that the students can do on class. And each task can serve as a basis for an assessment task. For example, as we know, and we're seeing on this book that they say that the teacher is going to give a task in which the students are going to fill in the blank with the correct option, and with that result they're going to see if they pass or not. And if there exists like a student that's not doing very good uh, on this process, on this learning process, they're going to give some assessment task in order to see if the student pass or not. So, and we have the other the other way to identify this domain and this task, that it's outside the language class. So in this context, we see that it's outside the class where students need the language, as Carolina says, maybe for professional purposes, I don't know, business purposes. So the class and the language that we're going to teach needs to be based on the students' needs. And with that, with this kind of exercise, also this task can serve as a basis also for the assessment task. For example, if you are studying medicine and you need to learn medicine terms, you're going to do some exercise in order to assess the knowledge of the student, but it's not for an academic purpose. It's for a context that it's outside the class. For example, in this case, you're going to be for a professional context. Thank you. Next, please.
Okay, great. Jorge.
Good evening, my name is Michelle Romero.
Michelle Romero. Michelle.
Now I am going to talk about impartially of interpretation. When we use the language assessment, we want to be able to interpret our students. Assessment records as indicators for the different language, level of language. It have the different ability, but it has different effects by personal attributes such as age, ethnicity, native language, and we in particular contents. Then our interpretation about the language ability like be said. The next, please. The qualities of interpretation there we have a difference. Relevance is the agree to which in the interpretation, the degree to which the intent interpretation provide the information the test user needs to make the decisions. And the superficie is the agree to which intent interpretation provide enough information for the degree. Information for the test used in the make decisions. And the meaningfulness is the degree to which interpretations and generality is to the agree with the assessment-based interpretation applied or extend to our students. And impartiality is the agree to which the form and content assessment task and the aspect of administration of the assessment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, is this the end of the presentation, or is there a section of conclusions or something?
Well, in this case, for as a conclusion, we would like to say that even though these elements are really important for the process of the class, we need to take in consideration also the context in which we are working on. We cannot make the most of this information if we don't put them into practice. So and so many times there will not be possible to use all these elements in a class. However, it is important that we as teachers are informed about this in order to be improving our teaching skills over time, because it will help our students and also ourselves.
Okay, yes, of course. Great. Thank you very much.
Do you have all the names, Prof?
Yes, I do. I have Hugo Peñafiel, Abby Morales, Michelle Romero, Carolina Macas, and Jorge Catot.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Okay. No, thank you. And well, I guess it's now 29 minutes. So I guess we don't have enough time for the next group. So we're gonna do the same, Abby. We're gonna close this session. You need I think 2 or 3 minutes to record, to finish the recording process of this session, and then you tell us when we have the next link. And so because of time, I guess we're going to do only one more presentation, and inevitably we're going to have to put off the last presentation until Monday.
Okay.
Because 25 minutes is going to be almost 8 o'clock, and so well, so you guys decide which one. Well, I guess because we have the order, group 1, 2, 3. Well, the next one is group 4. So yeah, so I'll be waiting. Abby, when you tell me it's ready, I will connect to the next session.
Sure, Prof. Okay.
See you later.